What I'm going to give in this lesson is a high-level walkthrough of the most important concepts of pain and injury-free sitting. Future videos will break down each exercise in more detail. Note that these are more movement explorations than exercise. The important part is to go slow, focusing your attention on yourself and what you feel during each movement exploration. First, I'm going to start with just standing, just to give you an idea of what we're trying to do in sitting, because it's easier to do this in sitting than in standing, but it's useful in both positions. So the two main movement possibilities for humans are like flexion, where you get small, and extension, right? So there's flexion and extension, and then rotation, right? Rotating. So today we're going to focus on flexion and extension. So flexion, extension. Okay, but in a chair. The most important thing we're looking for is connection. So it's like if I'm moving this, this has to help. If I'm moving this, the rest of me has to help. It's all connected. We are all connected together. If we allow ourselves to let go and release of all this muscular tension we have, our skeletons and our connective systems, tendons, ligaments, will move together. Okay, so we're going to start here with sitting. In sitting, one of the more important things is to sit with your ankles directly below your knees. So how does that look sideways here? So I don't want to sit like with my feet way out here or my feet back under here, because if to do either of those, to do this, I have to use my back and my pelvic muscles to hold up my legs. If I do this, then I'm kind of stuck in this flexed position. So if I put them right under my knees, my ankles are under my knees, it's like they're taking the weight. My legs are taking their own weight, and this is still available for movement. Okay? So, with that being said, what I want to do then is begin by thinking of your pelvis, like you're looking down and you see a clock, like with numbers on it in a circle. So for those of you that are not used to round clocks, we'll just say 12 o'clock is front and 6 o'clock is back. So I want to rotate my pelvis, roll it forward off of my tailbone onto 12 o'clock. And then I want to roll it backwards onto my tailbone at 6 o'clock. So this is what we did in standing, only we're sitting. So here's extension, looking up, flexion, looking down. From a side view, here's extension, 12 o'clock, flexion, 6 o'clock. Just notice how when I move my pelvis, the rest of me is connected to that movement. Now that takes time, and in future videos we'll work more on those connections. This video is more for kind of a high-level concept touching all the bases here. So notice when I rotate my pelvis forward or get off my tailbone, my knees naturally go outwards a little bit. They spread. When I go backwards, they come together. Why is that? Well, how do I make room for my pelvis going forward if my knees are stuck here, right? It's like there's no room to move. Here, since my weight is being taken by my legs, my knees are over my ankles, my pelvis is free to move, and it'll just naturally, my knees will spread out. Now you can exaggerate that a little bit to get started on it. So there's a basic posture I would call home base, right? So it's not like this, and it's not like this or this, but I'm towards the edge of my chair, So there's room for me to go back and forth, and I'm free in back of me. And what you can see is I'm a little bit like, it's like I'm hanging from my head. So I'm a little bit forward in my pelvis. So I'm not rolled back onto my tailbone. So I'm sitting on my sit bones, which is why they're called sit bones. So sitting on my sit bones here. Now, because I'm balanced on my bones. I don't need my muscles to hold me up. I'm just sitting here balanced on my bones. That gives me the freedom to use my muscles to move. They're not busy doing something else, right? So once again, I'm in kind of what I call home base position, a little bit forward off of my tailbone, and then I can look up and I can roll back. So 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And back to home. So when you're sitting, like, I don't know, at a computer, watching TV, waiting in line somewhere where they have chairs spread out, whatever, you don't have to live at home base, but come back to home base. Maybe you slouch a little bit, or you cross your leg, or whatever, but come back to home base. That's your balance point. That's where everything is as released as possible. Now we're going to add a few points. So we've talked about the pelvis tilting towards 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Right? So side view again, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So notice my front, when I look down and I roll towards 6 o'clock, this gets shorter, this distance. When I roll forward onto my sit bones, this gets longer, right? So this gets longer, my back gets shorter. So it's like this, shorter, longer, longer, and shorter, right? Simple relationships. Now your shoulders, most people have their shoulders are usually very tight. So you can roll them, and I'm rolling them along with my pelvis. You can hold them up a little bit and slowly let them go. So that'll make a difference. So when I extend, I look upwards and roll towards 12 o'clock. Notice that this gets longer in the front. So this spreads, my shoulders spread apart, my shoulder blades come closer together. So I'm exaggerating some of these movements so you can see them better. So what happens with the neck and head? It's the same idea. It's connected together. It's like your spine goes from the bottom of your skull all the way down to your tailbone. So everything works together. So when I'm looking up, it isn't like I look up and then everything stops here, and then I go like that. But when this stops, or when this stops, this stops. So we're trying to find the connections between the different regions of your body. The pelvis is like the engine room, right? This is where you get power from. Your rib cage is like a secondary room or secondary area, but it's very important. If your rib cage is really tight and stuck, it's hard to move your pelvis very much. When your chest relaxes, then you can do more of that. So when I look down, I let the back of my neck lengthen, and when I look up, I let my jaw open. Because your jaw is a hinge joint, and if you do this, it will naturally want to go down, unless you're clenching it shut, which many people do all the time. And then breathing. When you extend or roll towards 12 o'clock, you inhale. And then go like this, exhale. Imagine you're a balloon. Inhale. Exhale. Notice just a little bit my knees move. You feel the weight shifting across my feet on the floor. My chest opens here and this lengthens when I look up, and the opposite when I look down. So obviously you can't sit at work and do that in your chair that much, but I'm doing it, I'm exaggerating all these movements so they're easy to see. But you could be sitting here at your computer and every 10 minutes take a break and just do a little bit of that. Maybe even try doing a little bit of it with small when you're typing or doing a video game or something like that. Okay, so that's the basics and the important concept points and relationships of sitting in a chair pain-free. So please leave some comments if you have any comments or questions, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you.